Hello, my name is Debbie Jacobs, and I wanted to do a live this morning on having an open mind. It is amazing how people can go through life with a closed mind, thinking they know everything, they don't have to listen, they're always right, with limiting beliefs and no way, for, any of this to get out because the mind is closed. And with a closed mind, you keep your negative thinking because we all have negative thinking. We know that. You keep your mental illness, you keep your flaws, you keep everything that doesn't serve you. Because as a child, we did not, give our approval to what we want and what we didn't want in our mind. Our minds were programmed by our parents. Don't we all know that? And our parents were negative thinkers, negative thinking with negative and effective coping skills and low self-esteem. And that's what, we developed, right? That's passing down, unhealed pain, right? That is our unhealed pain. And let me say something. Of course, there is a good side and a bad side to everyone. There's a lot of good people, but a lot of good in people. But what's not supposed to be there is the bad side, is the hurt. Is the ineffective ways of being that create upset and unhappiness. And if you don't have an open mind, you're going to live with that for life, because it takes an open mind to let the negative thoughts out and the positive thoughts in. We have to reprogram our thinking. That's the solution. Not all these memes on Facebook, but actually it's in its entirety going from the negative mind to the positive mind. That is, what is necessary for freedom and happiness, the awakening process, the spiritual awakening, and our authenticity. Do you think that humans are meant to have negative thoughts, negative, ineffective coping skills, and low self-esteem? Is that the way that man is intended? Is that the way that God created? We have two eyes, a nose, a mouth, two ears, two hands, 10 fingers. There is perfection in the human being except for the mind. Problem. That's where the problem is. The one thing that man had to do was to program the mind. The body came complete. Childhood doesn't do anything for the development of my lungs, my bones, my organs, just my mind. And man has fucked that up because we have people living in negativity and hurt and flaws, and not in their authenticity and happiness. People living in mental illness, suicide, self-harm, prison, addiction, and not in freedom. People living, with fear-based thinking and not love-based thinking. Well, you have to have an open mind to get the love-based thinking. Love-based thinking is positive thinking, and fear-based thinking is negative thinking. And let me tell you something. Fear does nothing but hold us back from living. So what are we doing? Filling it, filling our kids' heads with it. Because it's a practice of, parenting. It's a negative tool in the toolbox of how parents, handle kids, with fear, with criticism, with punishment, with invalidation, with verbal abuse, with put downs, with making kids feel bad about themselves for doing wrong. And that stems from a closed mind. And you cannot make positive change in a closed mind. You have to have an open mind. And people don't have an open mind to their own happiness, to the betterment of their life. And let me tell you what else comes from negative thoughts: disease. It's believed cancer. I believe it. I believe that cancer is connected to rage and anger. I have seen people that have a lot of anger that have had, that they internalize their anger. I've seen people internalize their anger, and then people say that they've had cancer. And I wonder, why is there a high incidence of breast cancer? Why are women getting, breast cancer way more than men getting, any kind of cancer? What's the connection? Louise Hay did a lot of work in this area with our thinking and disease. And Debbie Jacobs, took Louise Hay's work a step further and accomplished the spiritual awakening and the positive mind. Louise Hay did not accomplish the positive mind. Debbie Jacobs did, but Debbie Jacobs is, my work is, deeply rooted in Louise Hay's work. Her work helped me in my healing and awakening out of mental illness. But for me to accomplish what, beyond her work, my own work, a path that I paved, called the process of being wrong, I had an open mind. And I'll tell you something. Somebody told me that I wasn't bipolar. I had an open mind. I didn't say, yes, I am. I said, really? Is that possible? Because I did think that my upbringing factored into my mental illness diagnosis. I went through a lot of abuse. I did. I knew nobody meant it. I know that. I know that I was in a family that loved me, but guess what? Everybody had unhealed pain, negative thoughts, negative, ineffective coping skills, low self-esteem, and ego. And that's why I post to address it. It's so weird. It's like so weird that here I post about having the cure to mental illness, and nobody echoes like there's nobody listening. And this is like the most important thing, I think, really on the planet. And it is my rebirth gives a rebirth to parenting practices so everybody can live in their freedom and happiness from birth. Make change to parenting. Don't have a negative toolbox, have a positive toolbox. They're called positive effective coping skills. But you got to have an open mind to let positive change in for your freedom and happiness and to clear your bloodline. My work is very powerful and significant. But I'm the only one that has gone through the process of being wrong, And so what I recognize is that you can't change your thinking, because Louise Hay said, change your thoughts, change your life. I said, okay, I'll change my thoughts. I don't fucking give a shit. I want to change my thoughts. They're fucking negative, and they're creating a lot of anger and hurt and upset for me. I can't even live my life. I was literally distracted from focusing on creating happiness because I was in my pain and negativity, and the mind can't think of two things at once. So I was thinking of pain and how and hate and how angry I was and how this sucked and how life sucked and the ba. Meanwhile, I couldn't be strategizing on how can I accomplish my happiness. And guess what? For me to accomplish my happiness, I had to first deal with my negative mind and my flaws. And I recognized that I had to get these negative thoughts out and replace with positive thinking. And I accomplished it because I changed my thoughts. And what I see now is nobody has an open mind to changing their thinking. What, are you crazy? You're going to live your one life in negative thoughts and flaws and unhealed pain? And you're going to have a very bumpy ride with your children, because that's what's guiding you over the course of their development. So what your childhood got you negative thoughts, negative ineffective coping skills, and low self-esteem. Guess what? It doesn't matter. Your child is going to have the same outcome. And all parents think that they could do better. They know everything. They're in their ego self. They're perfect. They don't have to change anything. They don't have to listen. Typical. But let me tell you something. Parents today have new information that parents, of yesteryear didn't. And that is the process of learning from mistakes. We see the mistakes that our parents made that are negatively, affecting children, the adult self that they become. And that's where you got to make change. But to make change, you have to make change to self. And parents don't want to. It's like the biggest affront is to tell a parent, is to criticize a parent's parenting skills. But your parenting skills are stemming from your negative thoughts, negative, ineffective coping skills, and low self esteem. So what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to be so pompous and arrogant about your parenting skills? You're wrong. You have to change them to positive thoughts, positive effective coping skills, and healthy self esteem to accomplish your child's freedom and happiness, or they end up in mental illness, suicide, self harm, unconscious, prison, addiction. Not a positive outcome. Not what they want. They want happiness, not unhealed pain, flaws, ineffective ways of being. And parents don't have an open mind. They don't at all. I would be like, all over. If somebody was like, "Hey, here's a way to get out of mental illness," I would be all over it. I'd be like, "What did you do? Tell me. I want to do it too. I want my freedom and happiness. What do I have to do? If you did it, I can do it." But negative thinkers think, "Oh, well, you do it. You did it, but it's not going to work for anyone else." They don't even know anything about this process because they don't have an open mind. And that shoots them in the foot. That's what having a closed mind does. It keeps our negative thinking in, and it shoots us in our foot, and it directly undermines our own happiness. Negative thinking, undermines our happiness specifically, and it creates unhappiness in our lives. What people call unconscious. So at best, you are unconscious, and at worst, you could be in prison or mental illness, or dead by suicide, or cutting yourself, to ease your pain. How does cutting ourselves ease our pain? It creates more pain. And people don't have an open mind to, consider new effective ways of being that help us in our happiness and get us out of our pain. Everybody has pain, and you know what pain is? It's our emotional pain. It's our wounded inner child. It is our flaws. It is our negative, thoughts, negative, ineffective coping skills, and low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is an indication, that we are operating not ourselves. And what it really means is that we're going through life not feeling good about ourselves. Can you believe that? So I try and post because, I know that this work is important, but I'm really not having success getting through to anyone in the ego self. Because to get to your authentic self, to get out of your pain, it takes the process of being wrong. Being wrong is what kills the ego. It's a glorious death. It was like amazing. I literally felt it. I felt it was a visceral effect of the stab, into the heart of the ego self. But that, was the awakening of my beautiful authentic self, and it was not my death. My death would have been suicide. Not the ego death, is what it takes to accomplish happiness. We all have to go through the healing process of taking on our demons, battling our demons to their death and not live with them. Because, living with our demons is them winning and creating unhappiness for us. Our one life. I can't even believe it. And all it takes really, for me, it took a lot of pain. I was in a lot of pain, and I had to, and it rose my awareness and consciousness that, my anger wasn't helping me, my anxiety wasn't helping me, my insecurity wasn't helping me, my, worry, my fear, my poor social skills. And I sought, right? I had my attention on these behaviors that were creating in me a negative outcome of craziness, anger, hurt, and I had to go to the source, not other people's actions, but my own reactions that were keeping me, out of my power, out of myself, because I wasn't myself when I was acting all crazy and angry and in anxiety and worry and all these ineffective ways of being. What the fuck? Why are we even passing them down to kids? Behaviors are all learned. And children have an open mind, and then, but by the time they're adults, it ends up to be closed. And now they're parents with closed minds, with flaws and being stubborn and all this negativity, and that's not the human being, that's the hurt self. That is man in their hurt self, in the ego self. And man doesn't want to have an open mind to get back to their beautiful, authentic self, the way that they were and the way that they were meant to be. So I post, to put this message out, but every negative thinker shoots me down. It's crazy. Because they don't have an open mind. So you have to have an open mind to make positive change for your freedom and happiness. All right, my name is Debbie.